Hey, you might think I'm the dumbest person on planet Earth, but check this out.
About the future of our warming world with one of the world's leading climate scientists, Dr. Michael Mann, distinguished professor of meteorology and director of the Earth System Science Center at Penn State University, and author of the book The Hockey Stick in the Climate Wars, Dispatches from the Front Lines. Dr. Mann, we've put off dealing with this issue in any serious way for about 30 years that it's been fairly irrefutable. What needs to happen now to curb the worst outcomes of climate change?
You know, as you say, we have unfortunately procrastinated in acting on this problem, and there's a great procrastination penalty. If we had acted on the problem decades ago, when we had enough information already to know that climate change was real, it was caused by human activity, and it was going to increasingly be a threat. If we had acted then we would have been able to undergo a fairly slow and methodical transition away from fossil fuels towards renewable energy, to other forms of energy. We could have undergone a slow enough transition that it could be accomplished fairly inexpensively. If you like, if you think of the carbon emissions, if we had brought them to a peak decades ago and had then gently brought them down in such a way as to avoid dangerous warming of the climate, the emissions curve would have looked like a bunny slope. Think of it as a bunny slope, okay? Instead, by having delayed action, the peak is now much higher, and we have to bring it down far more dramatically and far more quickly. So we've gone from the bunny slopes to the double diamond, the black double diamond.
So our government knew about this, but they didn't do anything back in the 80s.
Not having acted on this problem sooner. And of course, there's all the damage that has been done by climate change in the meantime. So there has been a huge procrastination penalty in not acting when we had enough information to act. That having been said, there still is time to act so that we avert the worst potential consequences of climate change. And
yeah, human beings taking it right to the limit.
Warming, 3.5 degrees Fahrenheit warming as being a warming threshold that we definitely want to avoid, beyond which we really start to see some of the bad things happen. We can still avoid crossing that 2-degree warming threshold, but it's going to take concerted action. And what it's going to mean is that we have to very rapidly transition away from our current reliance on fossil fuels, on coal, on oil, on natural gas.
Thank God.
And move towards solar energy,
solar electricity. Sammy Hagar.
We have the technology. The irony is that we don't have to invent new technologies to solve this problem.
Right.
The technology already exists.
Exactly.
We just have to scale it up. And there is peer-reviewed work, some excellent work done by folks at Stanford University, Mark Jacobson and his group at Stanford University, that have shown that we have the technology, we have the ability to wean ourselves from fossil fuels by mid-century, almost completely by mid-century. And we have the ability to scale up solar and wind and other renewable sources of energy, and they're doing it. It isn't just theoretical. Germany is doing it. Germany is now meeting 30% of its energy demand from
figures. Leave it to Germany to be doing something.
We are seeing dramatic gains made to the point where, for the first time in many decades, last year we saw global economic growth without a growth in carbon emissions.
Well,
there
that's
is now
cool.
What appears to be taking place, a decoupling of our economy from fossil fuels. We're starting to turn the corner, but we have to turn that corner even faster. We really have to dramatically incentivize this shift away from fossil fuels. We've got to stop burning dirty coal. We've got to massively deploy renewable energy if we are going to avoid crossing those dangerous thresholds.
Right.
All right, so there's a question. Do we get off of fossil fuels immediately? As he's saying, turn in the middle of the century. That's 2050. Why wait that long? It's 2015 right now. Let's get it going right now. 2016, presidents should be talking about it. If they're not talking about it, they shouldn't get elected. They should, but I was going to go on about any president talking about war or anything like that shouldn't go on either. We should move towards a peaceful earth. But the question comes, should we move off of fossil fuels or should we not move off of fossil fuels?